Hey, Patrick, thanks for chatting with me about the engineering mind and the sales process.
Love it. Yeah, this is an area that's near and dear to my heart, being that I am an engineer brain. So, yeah, for sure. Um, so what are you thinking? What direction do you come from in this topic?
Yeah, I ever since I had my software company, I I tried professional sales staff. I tried to bring in people that were, good at
Mm,
sales, but because we had such a niche technical product, those people did a lot of lunches and spent a lot of money and time and just never really
right.
got any results. And so finally I just fired all those people and I said, okay,
Yeah,
the people that know this stuff need to learn this stuff. And so I started to tell everybody in my company and everybody I would hire, everyone is involved in the sales process here. We don't
absolutely.
have sales people. We're all part of the sales
Totally.
organization. And it really, really worked for us. And I've believed in it ever since. And so that's why I just wanted to kind of chat about it. Obviously, you came in to help us do this at Total Shield
Yeah.
and you've done this with other companies, but
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm such a believer in it, I'd love to get the word out about it.
Oh, well, I love that. I appreciate it for sure, especially with you have such a great following of just awesome people. Um, Yeah, two things right off the bat. One of our core values as a company at Fivestone is everyone's in sales. Like that's actually on our website and it's one of our core values. And I just love that. Two, I often joke that, you know, I've been turning engineers into salespeople for 20 years and I was my first customer because I am a subject matter expert brain. I was never great at the outbound biz dev stuff, not naturally high expressive. I'm more of a technical brain, technical person. I was actually going to go to Cal Poly for a lot of people don't know, almost nobody knows this. I was on a track to go to Cal Poly for civil engineering. Um, and I just I got the entrepreneur bug early, and school was super boring at that point. So I do wish I would have gone a little further. I got a 17-year-old boy right now, and I'm thinking like if he wants to go down this entrepreneur road, I might hold the line a little bit on understanding how money works, how to read a balance sheet, all that. You and I, another passion we share, I think, is just this next generation of leadership.
Yeah.
So excited about, I'm so excited about this next gen that's the offspring of Gen X, right?
Hmm.
I just think it's so cool what they're doing. And, your kids are amazing, my kids are amazing. And then there's like millions of amazing kids that are doing hard things. And so that's cool. But yeah, I have often worked with engineer brain salespeople and teaching them to make friends. There's one really great thing about brain salespeople is they like systems and processes, right? And if you teach them systems and processes on how to make friends and how to run a deal and how to be organized in the sales process, they generally stick with it. Um, I work with a lot of high expressive hunting salespeople too, and they're really good at like, yeah, 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 got it, makes sense, totally. And then the decay rate is like 48 hours, right? Like forget what they're doing and then they go back to their old habits. So you've often said that about the salespeople, like the glad handing salespeople. Tell me a little bit about some of that a little more. Like what was happening in your company?
Yeah,
What
I think it's really company specific to a degree where we were selling such niche software tools and, without going
it's
into
highly technical stuff.
the domain, highly technical, and you're talking to folks who are often, program managers at,
Yeah.
FBI or something like that, right? I mean, they're technical folks themselves. They really don't want to hear like flighty. They want a very specific path that's going to lead to success, and it's really hard for folks that are not steeped in the details to be able to articulate a lot of that.
Yeah.
What the challenge was is a lot of the folks that I would tap and say, "Hey, I need you to go with me, and we're going to explain this to this, CTO and his staff." They'd be like, "Oh God, I don't want to do this." Right? I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm the engineer, right? I sit at the desk and I write code, and
Right.
like I'm not your guy. And I would say, "You got to be the guy." And so,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, and I would have people that I would bring on, and they would just say, "Oh, I don't do sales." They'd like put their hand in the air and say, "Like I don't do sales," and I'd say, "Wait, yes, you do. You can."
Right.
It's
Right. Right.
not. it's not necessarily that you run the whole process, but you can be involved in really, really involved in some of the process. And so
Yeah,
when we brought on folks that weren't um, didn't have their technical chops, our customers hated it, right? They saw right through it. And Total Shield
yeah,
is very similar to that, right? I mean, we're
yeah,
selling ballistic and explosive shielding to space and industrial customers. They don't want someone who's like, I kind of understand. Maybe this will work. Maybe your guys will die. Maybe they won't, right? I mean, they're like, no, we need you to know you got this, right? Like it's
right,
gonna work, right?
right.
And so they don't want to hear like a slick sales presentation. They
Exactly.
really want to
Yeah,
jump into it. And so
yeah,
that's why in both companies, it's just like
yeah,
we need to figure out a way to get those folks comfortable
yeah,
on a Zoom call, on a phone call, in person with
yeah.
end customers.
For sure. You need the nerds to touch antennas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your buyers are naturally skeptical. Just part of the package. High
Yeah.
analytic engineer brains are naturally skeptical. You have to be proven. They need lots of backup. They need lots of support. They need lots of detail. The challenge is a lot of times the decision makers can be at the executive level and they don't want all the detail and they
Mm-hmm.
don't want all the nerdiness and they don't want to invest the time. The reason they hire experts is say they don't have to spend the time to become an expert, right?
Yep.
So what you do is, and that's why we take our sales process and we break it into five key roles. And we start with awareness on the tip of the spear. Companies have to know you exist. And some companies do that in hand-to-hand combat with business development representatives, and some people do it with technology. You guys and Total Shield and Isabel, you guys have just crushed it doing it with technology, right? How many leads a day do you guys get
Too
typically?
many.
Right.
A
Which
lot,
is
right? I mean,
which is crazy.
right.
How many people are doing something that requires your services in the entire world? Like, I feel like it's a pretty finite number of customer targets, and you guys get just a crazy amount of leads. So you guys are crushing it on the awareness side. The next step is the hunting side. So it's targeting specific opportunities. So identify target, identify target, and qualify specific opportunities. That one's really hard to do with technology. It's mostly done with salespeople making connections. I'm gonna come back to that section. The third one, right in the middle, is our subject matter expert brains, which is what we're kind of made up with. The guys on your team, the guy that I was, all the people that you guy that you were, like we're right in the middle. We're really good at dealing with a situation that has presented itself, and we can solve the problem. We can explain the technology to people who don't, aren't super technical and people who are technical. And we're good at like kind of presenting a solution. Um, but we don't really want to go out and talk to a bunch of strangers or go to a party and make new friends and all that kind
Right.
of stuff. So, um, but we need those opportunities. So if we're not getting those opportunities from some serious awareness campaign like you guys are crushing, we need them from the hunting salespeople to bring them to us. And so we've had a lot of really good experience with our technical teams with a two-part sales team. So somebody is teeing up what I say, like, catching the fish and throw them on the boat, and then somebody else is chopping them into steaks. And those two have to work together really well. We've had huge success in that regard for when we're trying to grow revenue outside of our little circle of referrals. If we're just relying on referrals, then none of this matters anyway. But referrals are not really want to build your entire business on. So two-part sales process has been really good. We haven't done that yet at Total Shield. I think there's a good opportunity for you at Total Shield. I got to get you past some of your emotional scarring from your previous experience with salespeople buying lunches and playing golf, but we'll get there someday, I think. So.
Is it your, I mean, it's my belief, and maybe you've tested this and found it to not be true in edge cases, but it's my belief that even the most introverted amongst us, the most technical amongst us, can be effective in a sales role given enough support, enough practice
Totally.
reps, etc.
Yeah, they can always get better and they can always grow revenue for a company. It's hard to have exponential growth. So I talked about awareness, hunting, subject matter expert. Just on the other side of center is closing. This is our closing stage where we have people who are, usually low empathy, usually good with math, good about asking for the business, more direct and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times that's like a micro role. Sometimes it just gets rolled into other roles, or sometimes the owner will step into that role. I've seen you step into that role before where you're kind of like, okay, guys, This is it. We're just going to ask for the business now, and
Right.
you're the guy. The last one on the end is our farming sales folks. These are the people that are looking to grow wallet share and expand existing opportunities, go back to old clients. And there's so much you can do in farming that most companies don't do. They just neglect their current their current client database and take them for granted. And they don't farm them consistently, like you said, with a system and a process of like revisiting and asking for more business, or hey, did you know we also do this? Or hey, did you know you could do that? Or did you know your thing is old? Or we could do some service. Like we're doing it with Total Show. We're now offering up more of these deployment options where you guys will actually
Hmm.
come out and install. It's a great way to add revenue share, right? And some of the other acquisitions you've looked at, where if we acquire this company, we could add more feature sets into Total Shield. Super smart ways to grow in the farming stage. And those introverted salespeople are totally fine there because they're comfortable, because it's already their customer. They're friends with them
Right. Right.
already. It's totally easy. So yeah, you made
Do
one
you,
comment. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
do you, how long have we been working together? I'm terrible with dates and
I was
time.
thinking about that. I think on and off, man, maybe it's been almost 2 years on and off, year and a
Yeah.
half. Yeah, something like
So,
that.
so what would you characterize kind of the team, at the
Oh,
beginning to now?
super awesome. No, definitely subject matter expert engineers. Um, I think, am I allowed to use names? Can I use names or?
Yeah, I just use first names. Why not? I mean,
Yeah,
just so long as you're not hypercritical of them
yeah.
publicly. Well,
Oh, I'm always hypercritical, man. It's how we get better, bro. It's how we get better. We don't go to the trainer to say, "Oh, you're good enough, bro. You're good enough." That's, you know what, 20 push-ups is good enough, Adam. That's good enough. Um, Yeah, so you have one guy. First of all, they're all amazing, and I think you've done a really good job of assembling a very autonomous team. And I think that's what allows you to do other things that you want to do. Is that the team is super autonomous, and you should be very grateful for that for sure.
no, I
Uh,
am.
um, one of the salespeople is more engineer, subject matter expert brain than the other. I think the other has an opportunity to do a little more business growth and build new relationships for Total Shield, now and in the future. I think going forward, that'd be
Yeah.
the person I would lean on. The other one is really good about chopping wood and doing design work and all that stuff. Typical challenges we have with subject matter expert sales teams, they have a tendency to shop with their own wallet. They
Yep.
have a tendency to present the perfect solution, like
Yep.
this is the perfect solution. So then what you have is you run in a situation where the prospects will assert their control no matter what.
Right.
So if you give them the perfect solution and they want to assert their dominance, they're going to start cutting your perfect solution. Well, now you're left with an incomplete solution.
Right.
So as you know, we've been doing with Total is kind of over presenting a little bit, offering up options that can get hacked or manipulated or
Hmm.
changed, and you still protect the steak that's on the plate. Sure, I won't have the mashed potatoes or the green beans, but at least the steak is still there. Otherwise, you start cutting into the steak, and then in your case, you have problems because you start making compromises that you can't back up, and then the deal is lost, right?
Yep.
Like I don't want to give you something that we can't back up. So shop with your own wallet. Um, Presenting the perfect solution. Um,
And I think there was a big variety. There was a big variance in terms of how people were individually kind of managing
yeah,
their relationship with a customer.
I think that's kind of exactly what I was going to talk about, is communication. Communication is often a challenge with subject matter expert salespeople. They don't want to reach out to the customer until they have that perfect solution done.
Hmm.
So then when they're behind, they're late and they don't communicate.
They're
Well,
just quiet. Yeah,
I have
just
nothing to
working.
tell them.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
you have something to tell them. You have something to tell them that you're still working on their deal. So that's an issue. Follow up and follow through is another challenge with technical teams. Like, oh, they told me they were, they'll get back to me. Well, they're
Hmm.
busy. Everyone, they're busy. Number two, this is not important to them as it is to you.
Yep.
So you got to be more urgent. I think we weren't quite as, I had this manufacturing client several years ago who would do, they were very excited to talk to me about their quoting process, similar to you guys. And I said, well, tell me about your quote follow-up process. Oh, we have a quote follow-up process. It's amazing. We send a quote out, and then we have a quote follow-up meeting where everybody gets in a room and we go through all the opportunities that were sent and quoted, and then we follow up on them. I was like, that's great. It's more than I usually see. How
Hmm.
often are you doing your quote follow-up meeting? We do our quote follow-up meeting once a year.
Whether they need it or not, right?
And I was like, no, this is not good. So we're going to move that up a bunch. And so part of that follow through, we built some stuff in your CRM at Total Shield where, we're flagging opportunities that have been a little dormant. We're flagging opportunities that have stuck in a stage for too long that, or maybe stuck in a stage too long. What's the other one? Just haven't been touched in a while, that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. So those are things we always do on technical teams, like remind, and that's part of that deal where technical brains like systems and processes. So they like those
Right.
reminders, they like those spreadsheets. They, oh yeah, this is great. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. Which is kind of the inverse of the hunting salesperson, right? Hunting salesperson doesn't really have any use for data or follow-ups, stuff like that. So,
Well, I will say, we just had a company meeting on Thursday, and I think we gave out $20,000 in bonuses, maybe.
holy cow!
Um,
Congratulations.
so the team, the folks that maybe were hesitant about stepping more into the sales role, I think are believers, right? I mean, when
That's
you're
awesome.
giving bonuses like that,
Yeah,
people are like, "This is working. I like this
yeah,
process,"
that's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned something about nobody, I'm not a salesperson or whatever. It was about 7 or 8 years ago. My oldest daughter was probably 14 or 15. My kids have always been kind of interested in what I do, right? So she's hanging out with me and I'm going through this thing for this recruiting team, salespeople. That's what recruiters are. Let's call it whatever you want, but they're still salespeople.
Yeah.
And they were recruiting for a private school. So they're trying to recruit in students to attend the private school. That's their language. Any other person's language would be they're selling, seats at the school. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell seats. And I was going through their disc profiles and doing a workup and stuff. My daughter was asking me about it, and I was like, "Yeah, they don't, they don't think they're salespeople." So I'm trying to show them how they actually are salespeople. And she's like, "They don't think they're salespeople." Mind you, she's 14, right? And I
Mm.
said, "Yeah, they think sales is a bad word. They don't like to be salespeople." She's like, "Don't they sell education?" And I was like, "Yes, you're 14, you got this figured out, and you're not even in the job. They're actually in the job, and they don't think they're salespeople." So everybody's in sales at some level. We're all in revenue generation, so that we keep these companies going, which is what makes this country amazing. Is all these small businesses, and yeah, everybody's
And
in sales.
that, I think that's a great kind of item to end on is, we've brought in some younger engineers now. They're plugging into the sales process. It's
Yeah,
super cool to see them, interacting with customers,
yeah,
taking
yeah,
part in the sales process. I love to see that. I know you do
yeah,
too. Um, I I always try to stress to people who are, looking to get into maybe their first job out of college or a professional role.
yeah,
I'm always saying try to find a company that's going to give you sales training.
for sure.
It is, we're offering sales training at Total Shield. There's a lot of large companies that have pretty good, corporate sales and marketing
Yeah,
training things going on.
yeah,
And the reason I, I think a lot of maybe technical folks are not attracted to that is they're like, look, I just want to do the technical thing. I want to be the
yeah,
aerospace engineer. I want to write the code. I
yeah,
want to whatever. The issue with those folks are if that's all you're doing, writing code at Google, you
yeah,
will not real you'll hit a ceiling and you will not really be able to advance without being persuasive, without knowing how to market your team and yourself, right? I mean, all these things that maybe aren't quite
yeah,
what we would label as sales.
yeah, yeah,
That's what you learn in a sales
yeah,
role. And that's why I keep arguing with folks. Look, I get it. I'm an engineer too. And there's a
yeah,
lot of days when I just want to hole up and work on a technical problem.
yeah,
But I wouldn't have really been able to achieve what I had if I wasn't also out there talking to customers all the time, learning these sales
yeah,
techniques. It's just a way to become more persuasive, more
yeah.
well-rounded, able to
All around it.
communicate ideas. It's
Yeah,
that's what I think they get, and I think that's why I'm just always trying to push people. Okay, maybe Google didn't hire you, but go over here and learn sales,
yeah,
and it's going to take you somewhere.
yeah. So a couple thoughts on that. One, um, if you want to be an engineer, you're doing something for someone else, right? That's all engineering is you're solving a
Mhm.
problem for someone else. If you don't talk to those people, you don't get a good understanding of the problem that they actually want you to solve. Otherwise,
Yep.
you're just spinning your wheels. The other thing is you're not safe if you do this.
Yep.
Like, you
Exactly.
know, like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, outsourcing was all the rage. And we used to always say, nobody's outsourcing salespeople. There's people going to be doing accounting from the moon and code from the moon, but nobody's going to
Yeah.
be doing sales from the moon. And now in the world of AI, you're going to be doing code from wherever the cloud, right? And you're going to be doing, customer service from the cloud or, these minimal engineering tasks. You mentioned this issue which I find fascinating and scary and kind of a bummer is that it's wiped out all these lower level jobs.
Yeah.
And I think that's concerning. But, AI is not going to replace salespeople. There's people already talking about it. Oh, you do that? No, relationship building, hand-to-hand combat is not going anywhere. And in fact, it's going to become an even higher demand because people are going to get tired of robots calling them and emailing
Totally.
them and sending them LinkedIn messages. So that's huge. Next generation kids, right? Like we're talking about. I like them. I like next generation kids before they enter the workspace to have raised money.
Yes.
So Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, project work, um, uh, missions work. All my kids have done missions work or scout project for stuff like that where they've had to raise money.
Hmm.
So having to raise money is a skill, and always get a sales job. Like even if you're going to go into engineering, take
Yeah.
some BS sales job. I've had some horrible sales jobs, but I still apply stuff every day that I learned
For
from those
sure.
sales jobs. Um, I did cold calling. I did cold calling when you had to actually dial the phone. There's no auto dialers. It wasn't rotary. It was still push button.
Yeah.
But that stuff teaches you skills that you have forever. So I would just,
Absolutely.
young kids, younger generation. That's what I would say. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Patrick. I think this was
Thank
a
you. This was a fun
fun little
chat.
chat, and
Yeah.
yeah, let's get the word out there.
Yeah. And I'll see your team tomorrow morning. Hopefully they did their push-ups. So we'll get it done.
We'll see.
All right. See ya.
Thanks, Patrick.
Bye.